Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. So today I am bringing you the Finally Full book tag, and I was tagged to do this by Laura from What Everyone Else Is Reading. I will link her video in the description for you. I did also film this tag last year, so I'll link that video for you as well if you want to see how my answers have changed. I'm going to apologise for the lighting in here. I usually film on the weekends and I ran out of time this weekend, but I'm running out of days of autumn because it's already the middle of November and I wanted to film this tag before the end of November so it could still count as being in autumn. So I'm having to film this on an evening. It's really dark outside. It is actually feeling quite wintry already, but there's still a lot of leaves on the trees, so we're counting it. It's still fall. It's still autumn. We're gonna go ahead with the tag. The original video has been taken down, so I can't link to that, but as I said, I will link to Laura's video and I will also link to my video from last year, and I've consciously tried to answer differently this year to last year. Question 1 is, in fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. So the book I've chosen for this is Truthwitch by Dennard. I read this in September and just got really swept up into the world. Her world building is excellent. The settings were so well described that I could really picture everything. The action takes place in a number of different places, but it wasn't confusing. Like, it was all really clear, really obvious what everything felt like, what everything was looking like, how the magic system worked as well was all quite clear, and I just thought they were really beautifully written, beautifully described, and just made the world really come to life. So I found that a really absorbing book to read, and so that's why I thought that would do well for this question. Question 2 is, nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. So I've picked one of my favourite books of the year so far for this, and this is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I read this in September as well. I read this for Tome Infinity. It's kind of science fiction. It's about a cafe which allows its customers to travel back in time, but only within the cafe, so they can only travel back to conversations they have had in the cafe. They can only talk to people that have been in the cafe, and there is a set of strict guidelines as to how they travel back in time. But each person, each character featured in the story that is choosing to travel through time has a specific person that you want to see it, and it's all around this idea of loss and grief. It's someone that has gone from their life in some form or another. So the first lady has broken up with her boyfriend and he's gone to another country and she wants one last chance to talk to him. The second lady, her husband has dementia and is forgetting who she is, and she wants to go back to have a conversation with him before he starts to forget. And then there's a lady whose sister has passed away, and another lady who never got the chance to know her child. So in each situation, the person choosing to travel back through time has lost someone and wants one more chance to connect with them. Yeah, I thought this was really beautifully written. It's translated from Japanese, it's a Japanese bestseller. Apparently it's also been made into a film. Someone told me, they commented, because I reviewed this. I did a book review for this, which I will link as well, so you can go and check out all my thoughts on it. And yeah, someone commented on that video that it has been or is being made into a film, so I need to try and find that film because it's just such a beautiful book that it would be great to experience it as a film as well. So that is my pick for that question. Question 3 is, autumn is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. So for this, I'm picking another favourite book of the year actually. This is An Interrupted Life by Etty Hillesum. Etty Hillesum was a Dutch Jew during the Second World War, living in Amsterdam until she was transported to Westerbork, which was essentially a transportation camp. So the Nazis would send the Jews there until they sent them on to Auschwitz, essentially. She kept a diary. She also wrote a couple of pamphlets. She wrote a lot of letters about what life was like in Westerbork. I've read a bit about the war, about the Second World War and what the situation was like for Jews, but this was more in depth because it was her personal thoughts. If anyone has read The Diary of Anne Frank, this is along a similar line, but because the author of this was an adult, it's maybe a bit more in depth in some places. It's been a while since I read The Diary of Anne Frank and I really should read it again actually. But if you want to know more about what life was like for Jews during the Second World War, this was a really brilliant book. You see I've highlighted a lot of quotes that I enjoyed. She writes a lot about what is happening to her faith as well during the war, during this time of oppression and hardship, and how it makes her reflect on how she feels about her faith, about God and spirituality. So I really, really loved this book. Question 4. In order to keep warm, it's good to spend time with people we love. Name a fictional family or friend group that you would like to be a part of. So another recent read, these are all quite recent ones actually, which I just thought was a really lovely take on friendship, and that is Puddin by Julie Murphy. So this is a story about two girls who become unlikely friends. One of them, Millie, has quite a strong friendship group. This is a companion novel to Dumplin', and in Dumplin' this group of girls became really close friends, and Millie's one of them, and she tries to bring Callie, her new friend, into the group, and it just was really heartwarming. Like, it was a really lovely friendship dynamic because all the characters are quite diverse. They all have a lot of different experiences, different thoughts and feelings, different backgrounds, but they all connect and accept each other and really pull together. Millie experiences a disappointment in this book, and the others all rally around her and help her to figure out how she's going to overcome it. And I just thought it was really beautiful the way they all pull together to support each other. It made me quite reminiscent for when I was a teenager and had a really strong friendship group at school, and we used to go and have sleepovers at each other's houses. The next question. Colourful leaves are piling up on the ground, show a pile of full coloured spines. I'm actually going to leave that to the end because a couple of the books I'm talking about are part of my pile, so I'm going to show you my full coloured spines at the end of the video. Question 6 is fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein someone is telling a story. So for this one I'm going to talk about The Magician's Lie by Greer McAllister. I read this over the summer. This was our Ninja Book Club pick sometime in the summer, I can't remember which month now, but it was really, really good, and it's really beautiful cover. In this story, the most famous female illusionist of the early 20th century, the amazing Arden, is arrested for suspected murder of her husband, and so she is telling her story to the police officer that has arrested her to try and convince him that she didn't do it. Rather than actually focusing specifically on the events of the night of the murder, she retells her whole story to him to help him understand how she got to the point where she's at. I just really, really love this book. There's a small amount of magical realism in there, not as much as I was expecting, but it was still beautifully done. I do need to give content warnings in this book for domestic abuse, sexual assault and self-harm, so if you are sensitive to any of those things, this may be one to avoid, but it was just really well put together and really beautifully written, and another of my favourite books of the year actually. Really, really enjoyed this one. The way the story develops, and it's told in the two different time frames, so you've got the developing story of the interrogation of what happens on the night of the murder, and then you've got Arden recounting her story of how she got there. Question 7. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. So another recent read for me that fits the bill for this one was Fever Dream by Samanta Scweblin. Again, I read this for Tome Infinity in September. So this is written by an Argentinian author, and it's hard to explain really. So I used it for Tome Infinity because it's kind of sci-fi if you interpret it as being otherworldly, some of the stuff that happens as in Alien, but it could also be interpreted as being kind of on the horror spectrum. It was really atmospheric, and the way the story is told as well really enhances the creepiness of it. So it's told in second person. The main character, I think it's called Amanda, I can't remember. She is talking to David, who is the son of her friend, but he's not quite himself, and that's all I can really tell you about him. He is trying to figure out at what point she became infected with the illness that is killing her, and so she's talking to him, but she's talking to him in second person, so she's always saying, you did this, you did that, and it's this conversation between the two of them, and as a reader you sort of feel like you're stuck in the middle of it, and it just really built up the suspense and the tension in the novel. It's only very short, and I read it pretty much in one sitting because it was so enveloping that I just really felt part of it, but it was quite creepy and beautifully done again. Question 8. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold, rainy day. So for this one, I have gone for a book that really cheered me up on a cold, rainy day when I wasn't feeling very well. So it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but if you're a fan of Gilmore Girls, it probably will be. It is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. This is her memoir of her acting career, her life and her experiences, up to and including the filming of Gilmore Girls and the Gilmore Girls reboot, A Year in the Life, and just sort of generally giving advice to the next generation, really, based on her experiences, some funny situations she found herself in, how she's dealt with different things, and just sort of feels like having a chat with your mum, really. On the day I read it, I had a horrible cold, I was feeling really ill and really tired and grotty, and it was raining outside, and I was wrapped up in my blanket, and it just was like having a great big hug of a book. It really brightened my day on that day, and if you are a fan of Lauren Graham, or if you like acting memoirs, then I think it would brighten your day too. Question 9. Autumn returns every year. Name an old favourite that you would like to reread soon. I talk about this book a lot because it is my all-time favourite book, and that means I'm slightly intimidated to read it. It is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, but so many people recently have been picking up this book and talking about it, and it's made me really want to reread it soon. This is my lovely anniversary edition I got last year, which is just beautiful. It's the 80th anniversary edition. So Rebecca is the story of a young girl who is a companion to an older woman and just accompanies her around different health resorts on the continent. And then one day she meets a man called Maxim at a resort that they're staying at, and she immediately falls for him, and he asks her to marry him, which is a bit surprising because she doesn't see why she's attracted to him. But anyway, she agrees and they get married and they go back to his stately home, which is called Manderley. But when she gets there, she can tell something's not right in the house, and Maxim had been married before, and his first wife Rebecca died in tragic circumstances, but it's like her presence is still in the house somehow. So it's not a ghost story, but it kind of feels like it could be, because the house is kind of still haunted by Rebecca, just not in any sort of ghostly format. It's like her presence sort of oppresses the house still. The housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers, was Rebecca's servant before she got married, so she was very much attached to Rebecca, and she is still the housekeeper, and she's very creepy. So it's a good autumnal read, and I would really like to try and read this before the end of the year, but I don't know if I'll get there because I've got so many other things I'm trying to read before the end of the year. But this is certainly a book that I do want to pick up again really soon, because it's been way too long. I haven't read it for a really long time, but that is also, as I say, quite intimidating, because what if I don't love it as much as I did before? Question 10. Autumn is the perfect time for cosy reading nights. Share your favourite cosy reading accessories. So I think last year I talked about my blanket that I made. This is still my favourite cosy reading accessory. It's just really lovely and warm. It does have a little bit of a hole in it at the moment that I need to fix. I haven't got around to that yet, but I love wrapping myself up in this blanket. But so that I'm giving a different answer to last year, I'm also going to talk about candles. I love having candles lit in the autumn and in the winter. This is one of my favourite candle holders. It's a little tea light holder, and it looks opaque, this lovely deep red colour, until you light a candle in it and then the light just shines out through it. It's really beautiful. I got it from a National Trust place a couple of years ago, and I use it every winter and just put different tea lights in it. It's a star shape as well, if you can't see. So I love having candles lit in the winter. I've got a couple of favourite candles and candle holders. This is one of my favourites that I always use in the winter because it feels quite Christmassy. But this is meant to be autumn, and it is like a nice autumnal red colour. So then finally all I need to do is show you my pile of 4 coloured spines. So I mean, I don't think this is as good a selection as last year, but I couldn't be bothered to go back upstairs and get a lot more books, so I've just done the ones that were lying around down here. So here we go. We've got a few library books in here. We've got quite a lot of red, lovely deep red colours, and then a little bit of a darker colour there, and some yellow, and this lovely brown colour here. So that's my lovely pile of 4 coloured spines, and that's all the questions. So I'm not going to tag anyone because I'm really late to the party filming this. I just have run out of time to film it sooner than this. So if anyone wants to still do it, because the questions are really cool, but they are quite seasonal. So if you would like to film this tag, please do go ahead. You can say I tagged you, but I'm not going to specifically tag anyone because I'm barely going to have time to get this up before the end of November. So I doubt anyone else will have time to make it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of my answers. You can chat to me down in the comments. You can also follow me on my social media. All that information is always listed in the description box. You can also like this video if you liked it, and please think about subscribing if you haven't already. But that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!